Happy New Year, Super League fans worldwide. We have got a treat for you today, because as much as I know you all love hearing me grilling the other managers, the roles are reversed. And we have Scott with us this evening, and he has took it upon himself to put me in the hot seat and ask me the questions that you want to know. Good evening, Scott.
Evening, Five. How are you doing, pal? Happy New Year to you.
And to you, pal. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Consumed quite a lot of alcohol over the last couple of days, but apart from that, freshened up a little bit today. So yeah, all good.
And back to action tonight as well. We're recording, a couple of hours before kick-off. This is quite interesting roles reverse for us. I know this is about you asking me questions, but you looking forward to this because you were actually the first manager to do the one-on-ones with me. So for you to be the one that asking me is an interesting turnabout of play.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good fun. I think you've sort of set quite a good structure in terms of how the other interviews have gone. So what I'll do is I'll just sort of run through how I think it'll pan out. And we'll go from there. Is that all right?
Go for it, mate. This is all on you now.
Good stuff. So obviously we're gonna talk about the Devils. We're gonna talk about the Super League and all that sort of stuff. But I just wanted to start off by asking you about the other piece that you're involved in. Is it rewriting history? Is it?
Yep.
So obviously that's some more content that you're involved in. So just for the guys that may not know what it is or may not know a great detail about it, just give us a quick rundown of what is it, who's involved, and how's it going?
No pressure on forgetting any names then. There's been a lot of talk for a few months about a few people getting involved in network play. And I know a few people have tried it and for different reasons it hasn't quite worked. And then I got asked if I take part in one among a group of other people. We've got Steve, who's obviously involved with the Super League. We've got Duggan, who's well involved with Jamie at Dragons, and he does The Game's Gone. CM Rob, who everyone knows, and also Dimble's involved as well, who I believe is doing co-coms on the Super League tonight. And what we decided to do to be a little bit different was we took the teams that finished in the bottom 5 in the Premier League in real life during 01-02 and decided to see if we could rewrite history. And so we did. We've had Steve won the Premier League season 1 with Sunderland. Dimble won it season 2 with Derby. I know Duggan's getting really annoyed with the board at Leicester because they won't give him any money. Rob is at Bolton. I'm hoping I'm getting these the right way around. I'm pretty sure I am. Rob's at Bolton, and to be fair, I think he got the shortest straw of them all. I think when we decided on the game we were going to do, everyone sort of said, I don't want to be Bolton. They just about take anyone else. And I'm Ipswich, and we've just finished season 2. And despite having to enter at the Intertoto Cup stage, I've gone all the way and won the UEFA Cup. So that's my first trophy in the bag. And next time we're just in pre-season of season 3.
Good stuff. So just tell us about how you sort of started off in terms of the squads. Did you run with the original squads, or did you add some players in, or?
We agreed on original squads, but there were 5 draft picks. And how it worked was we each got to go in order of where the teams finished in the real life Premier League season. So I think it worked out that because Ipswich finished 18th, I think it was that year, I was 3rd in the pick each round because we went 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And we got 5 draft picks, and so we could all see who each other were drawing, so we could pick our choices accordingly.
Good stuff. And then, so just for anybody who might want to catch up or start following, you're not streaming, is that right? You're just posting sort of updates via your Twitter pages?
We're not streaming yet. I know 1 or 2 of us have had thoughts about how it could possibly work. I know it's something that thing is, as I've always said, I'm not tech savvy enough. But if I could work out maybe how to do it, even though people would only see it from sort of my perspective, perhaps. I might be able to stream the Ipswich side of things. But yeah, at the minute, we're all just using hashtag rewriting history, putting tweets and pictures and stuff up of how things are going.
So if anybody does want to catch up or sort of get involved, hashtag rewriting history is the place to be then, yeah?
Definitely, yeah. Hashtag rewriting history, and you'll see all the posts that all of us are making.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. So on to Devils then. So we'll have a chat about Swindon Devils. So just to start sort of leading on from rewriting history, it's been mentioned a few times sort of throughout this season that you've recently started playing the game again yourself. And that in previous seasons and previous years you've maybe not you've not played it, or maybe not a lot. So how much of an impact do you think that that's had on your good start to the Super League?
I'd be a fool to say it hasn't helped. In actual fact, I'd worked out how to download it, and Boyd's offered to help, and various people have offered to help in the past, but I finally sort of worked out where I was going wrong back in the last season, and I thought, well, everyone says it's going to help playing it again, and it's not, because we were still losing games and still finished bottom of the Super League. But with the redraft, and I tried a few other things. I know people have sort of said about Alf's home saves and that. I haven't done a home save as such, but I've done stuff where I've put my squad in the game in the Premier League, and then I've not taken it seriously. But at the start of the season, when I was sort of picking who could play where, I was sort of adding a manager against, say, if I came up against your team, for example, I'd look at the tactics over the previous few games. I would add manager for 3 games in a row and try different things out to see what worked. And now that I've got sort of 2 or 3 saved formations that seem to do what I'm hoping they would do, because there's no guarantees in the Super League of anything, but I've found formations where I can get players to create chances, and that's all I really wanted. If I can create chances, there's players in that squad that will score goals. So I found a couple of formations where I think I can create chances, and that's where I've gone. I've not done it for a while. Obviously, we've been doing the rewriting history stuff, and with us being on a pretty decent run, I've not had to do that for a while because I've now got my 3 formations. But I can always go back to that if I need to try something new.
Absolutely right. So, sort of just going back to you saying that you're on a decent run, you're currently sat second, joint top if you like, second on goal difference. You found yourself with 2 or 3 settled formations that you think best fit the squad that you've assembled. So have you surprised yourself in how you've started, or did you always think that you were capable of competing if you had a good squad?
Well, I think this is a question I've posed to a few other people when they've sort of spoken about the Devils. I think this is, without question, probably the best side I've had, and that'll be a contributing factor. But I also think, as has been well documented, the league is a lot more sort of level balanced. So it's done me some good, because everyone knows it's been hard, constantly finishing bottom or second bottom. And it's nice to know that when the league is kind of equal, I'm able to, to compete and show that I can win games. I don't lose every game, and I can do this and I can do that. And yeah, it's been that's surprise, I think, is the wrong word, because as everyone said, I've got a decent squad, and I knew if I could get them into playing like they did on my sample games, then they could do something. I think relief and delight is a better 2 words to use to describe the start we've made, because obviously I'm not used to having 3 or 4 games where I'm not losing. I'm not used to winning games that are a bit bitty. Normally, like if you take the last game where we won 1-0, it was a very even game. I would normally lose that quite convincingly. So it's been nice.
Good stuff. So as you allude to plenty, you consider yourself the most talked about side in the Super League, and especially when it comes to match day and results and tactics and all that sort of stuff. And the guys are always quick to give their opinions, and you're always taking on board feedback from the other managers and the guys in the community. Some you take better than others. But sort of when the dust settles, how much of the other guys' opinions do you take into account when you're picking your team?
I think it depends who it is. When it comes to picking the team, I don't necessarily do. For example, the well-documented one was Barry can't play DM, and I've pretty much had him there every game but one all season. I listen to, if there's technical points which I might not be as clued into, I'll certainly listen to that. But I think a lot of when people are talking about the Devils, it's for one of two reasons. There's either a respect there that a lot of people have been involved with the Super League a long time, and they're kind of, as much as they want their team to do well, I'm a lot of people's second team because they're just happy to see me not at the bottom for a change. And other people, they're just following the narrative, trying to build a storyline of, you know, I'm only doing well because my squad is so much better than everybody else's now, or, you know, things like that. And it's fine. Everyone enjoys a narrative, but I treat it with the contempt it deserves. I think certain people talk about or try and downgrade what we've done in the first pretty much half of a season to sort of hide their own incompetencies or their own failures. So that's the other side of it. Some people are trying to deflect away from what they're doing wrong, whereas some people are just happy to see me doing something right for a change.
Yeah. So just sort of going back to the point you made about Barry Ferguson and a couple of others, there's a few individuals I'd just like to ask you about. So firstly, we'll start with Kieran Dyer. Well, Kieran Dyer's been topic of conversation in recent weeks. He's played in numerous positions for yourself. Think he currently tops the averages table, or he might be second. He seems to do a solid job in every position. So where do you see him being best utilised in a specific position once you get a settled 11, or do you see him as a sort of utility man that will do a job anywhere?
A bit of both, if I'm honest. I recently actually, when I got the game back and I was trying out different saves to just get back in the flow of play, and I actually happened to do a Newcastle save. So when I got Kieran Dyer, I was delighted because I've not long played with him. And originally, if you go back to like game one, I kind of had like a three-man midfield, almost like a 4-1-3-2 sort of traditional formation. And Kieran was on the right-hand side of those three. But then as I tweaked things slightly, he's obviously played more predominantly as my right wing back, because I think he's very good on the wing. And then the last game he played as the right attacking midfielder. And as a few people have said in the past, despite him being a DMRC, he's very well equipped to play AMRC. I wouldn't necessarily deploy him that far forward very often. I would generally treat him more as a midfielder or a wing back. But equally, if I was to play just a central DM, he could play there. The only reason I played him in the very attacking midfield role last time, as I've kind of alluded to in the comments when everyone was saying, what's he doing there? Is because when I was looking at where Locomotive could be dangerous, I was thinking, if I could have what he's doing back in defence as in an attacking position, we should be able to counter the threat of them coming forward from there. It was actually a tactical decision, although people just think I make it up with my random tactics generator as I go along.
Yeah, well, look, he's certainly a player that can definitely do a job in numerous positions. So next up, Mpenza. He started like an absolute train. Is his goal-scoring form going to be key to you maintaining your good form?
I think without question. I think whichever teams have the goal scorer generally will do well. I know he's joint top goal scorer at the minute. He generally picks up one or two longer-term injuries in his Super League track record, which is why I'm happy now. For example, I brought in Kevin Phillips, who doesn't have a Super League track record as such, but he's well proven to score goals. I've got Dwight York who can score goals. You know, I've got other players who can score goals should he get injured. But my aim is for him to be my number 9 for as long as possible, because he's also a 2-time Super League winner. And if you can keep him fit and you can give him the service, he will score the goals.
Yeah, no doubt about that at all. So then the much spoke about Barry Ferguson. Do you think you are currently getting the best out of him, or is there more yet to come?
No, I'll be honest, I'm not getting the best out of him. But what I am getting is what I need from him for the team to do what we're doing. I think I would tend to agree with people. He is a central midfielder. If you look at when he was pulling the strings for Churchtown, he played on his own in the centre of the pitch, just him. I've got him playing in a 2, but it was a conscious decision to have the forward arrow on him. Again, it was a tactical decision, because the one thing I've always done is concede goals. So I wanted to have that extra body further back to help offer a shield. But as everyone says, he's a better CM. So no, I'm clearly not getting best. You know, you saw how many assists and stuff he got in previous incarnations of the Super League. But he has already picked up a couple of goals and a couple of assists. But what he's doing is he's getting in the decent passing stats, the decent tackling stats. We're not as exposed as we normally are. And him and Emerson seem to be doing quite well in them defensive midfield roles as a unit.
Yeah, well, something's certainly working. So just quickly before we move on then, is there anybody else in your squad who has impressed you, or anybody else who has been a little bit of a disappointment in the first sort of 11, 12 games?
People have been very quick to dispel what Ronaldinho is offering to the team. I think that is harsh. He's got a quite high average rating. It's just below an 8. He is picking up assists. Yes, okay, he's not on double-figure goals, double-figure assists already, but he has also played in all 3 of the positions behind the front man. You know, it's not like he's got a settled position. If I'm honest, with him and Harry Kewell, I feel 2 of those 3 positions are sorted, but I can't seem to get the third one nailed down. I've tried Ola Sadabi in the central role. I've moved Ronaldinho in central, and I've put Mackay out there. I just can't quite seem to get a third one nailed down. But all in all, obviously Montero has been a rock, and I think, as was proven a few weeks back when everyone was mocking him and then they actually looked at the cold hard facts, everyone says he's got a poor disciplinary record. I've got my first suspension tonight of a key player, and it's not him. You know, he's not at 5 yellow cards yet. So I think he's done well. Wes Brown's done well, partnering him at the back. I've been impressed with him. I think Emerson, as I mentioned before, he's finally getting an average rating, I think, suitable for his stats, if you like. Yes, again, he's not chipping in with as many goals perhaps as people would like. But if you go back through his Super League track record, he's got Zidane levels, if you like, where he's not even averaging a 7. He's doing above that now. And then people always mention what I do with the goalkeepers. It's obviously that Frey is the #1 choice, but what I have got in Richard Wright, as much as people mock him, is a very capable #2. And what I think there is a cause, especially when Frey starts the game so young, is if he does have an average or a poor performance, I will pull him out for a game or 2 and let Richard Wright, because I can trust him to deputise perfectly well. It's not like some teams who are reluctant to change their keeper because they've got 1-star goalkeeper and then a couple of lower class. I've got a very good goalkeeper and a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, I would agree that Richard Wright is definitely a decent deputy. So then just lastly on Swindon, just quickly talk us through your transfer business as you did with everybody else. What have you done? And more importantly, do you think you've strengthened your starting 11?
Strengthen the starting 11? Probably not. It's fair to say, probably not. But what I have done is we now have more options, and I feel I've improved the original squad. So we got Vasiliuk, and we got in Oya, and we got in Phillips. Now Vasiliuk was in the reserves. A few people sort of spoke to me about him, but no one put in a sort of a pedigree offer, if you like. And then when it came to speaking to Fulchester, they were happy to offer me Oya and Phillips. Now, as I mentioned, Mpenza is my main striker, but Phillips, again, is a capable deputy. I haven't seemed to have found, not that I've needed to at this stage, but I haven't really got anyone properly suitable as a deputy to him at the moment. So hopefully in Phillips I do. And again, if you go back to the first game, I was obviously originally planning to adopt a more narrow formation, but it's working better with the wing backs, and I didn't have those to begin with. So having Oya allowed me to. And then with Boston, I allowed Pancaro to go, who's a very good, versatile fullback, can play in both positions. But what I managed to get was Diaz, who could give Van Bronckhorst some genuine competition on the left-hand side. And I managed to bring in Tobias Grant, who's not in my first team 24, but he is a player who's already, getting results in his first 2 games for the reserves, and is very capable should I need to, again, maybe try someone else on that right-hand side of the front three next time we can change the 24. He might be the one that comes in, because, again, he's got proven Super League track record. He recently featured for Rocks and Scandinavians as well, and got decent figures. So people are now starting to realise what he can do. So, again, he gives me an option if I need it further on in the season.
Yeah, with all due respect to Scandinavians, Rocks is playing in the Dutch league. I think you've had a little bit of criticism that the guys you brought in, none of them were in the starting 24s of the teams that you've signed them from. And there was a bit of criticism that actually you're probably not, it's just a bit of a meh deal. So you're saying that these guys have come in and will feature and will make competition for your starting 11?
Well, I mean, we already had Oya and Diaz play the last game. One of those starts again tonight. Or is it both of them? No, I think it's just one of them starts again tonight, because I've had to do a bit of a reshuffle tactically. But yeah, I think that the reasons I brought them in was to improve the squad in terms of my options, because we've changed what our plan was tactically. Yes, you could say Ashley Cole would be better than Diaz, or you could say Zambrotta would be better than Oya. But those weren't the players on offer. What I've done is brought in players who are very capable of doing the job I need them to do at the time I need them to do it.
Fair enough. Okay, so what we'll do now is similar to what we did, what you've done with the rest of the guys. We'll quickly have a chat, depending on how we are for time, we'll chat through the other teams. So just a quick line or two on each team, the manager, the squad, and their start to the season. Then I'll get your top 6 prediction. And then if we've got time, I've got a little bit of a quick fire round planned at the end.
So
just keep an eye on the time and let me know. So we'll start at the top with Fulchester. Over to you.
I think I've gone on record enough saying I think Mac is doing a brilliant job, both with Fulchester and in the Super League generally. I think he proved last year what he can do with a squad that isn't necessarily the best or littered with stars, and he's doing it again. He's copying the blueprint, so to speak, of me of underplaying how good his team is. But I believe, in terms of a manager and squad combination, Fulchester are as good, if not better, than most in that league.
Okay. So then level on points with yourselves and Fulchester is myself and Bostock.
I think you've proven you've got the knowledge, the brain, the transfer intuition to do well in the Super League. I think you've got a better squad now potentially than you did in previous incarnations. I do think, and I don't want to say this disrespectfully, I think there's more chance of your team, for example, going on a bit of a negative run than, say, Fulchester. But I still think that, again, if you're using the same sort of measuring stick as I use for Fulchester, when you look at the manager and the squad, there's not really much, if any, doubt of a top 6. I imagine you're looking at a top 1, but I think a top 2 finish is definitely a possibility, not necessarily a certainty.
Okay. So then next we've got the continually writ off Locomotive Boston, sitting in 4th currently.
Absolutely delighted with what Greasy's managed to do there. I think everyone predicted me and him to finish bottom 2, and the fact that he's up there and is the highest ranked newcomer is brilliant. It's nice to see. A lot of people said in previous incarnations they wanted to see different teams mix it up. It's not, it's boring if the same teams finish in the top 6. So what he's managed to do in the first half of the season, give or take a game or two, has been phenomenal. I think you look at the impact of players like Effenberg, who are surprising a few people. He's the team on paper most likely, potentially, to drop out the top 6. But as we've all seen in every life of football, whether it's Super League, Premier League, anything, football isn't played on paper, and he clearly has an eye for what he's doing. He just needs to make sure he maintains a certain level of form, because if a losing run comes into play, it can be difficult to get out of in the Super League.
It certainly can. So in 5th, we've got Mr. Campbell and his Edinburgh contingent at Haggis.
I've always said I'm a big fan of Ian and Rox. I think they're two people who clearly know what they're doing. I think Ian's dispelled any myths that he's just the face and Rox is the brains behind the operation. I don't think their squad gets the credit they deserve. I know I lead the narrative in a lot of these interviews, and I say playing badly but getting results. But at the end of the day, getting the results is what matters. There's no point having 20 shots on goal, 18 on target, but losing 2-1 if you can have 3 shots, 2 on targets, and win 2-1. It's style over substance, or vice versa, I suppose. And I think he deserves a lot more credit than he's getting for what. Yes, there are certain players in that squad who you probably expect more of, but you can look up and down any team. Even just looking at my own, as I said, people are criticising Barry Ferguson, they're criticising Ronaldinho, but I'm joint top. And I think people who criticise the levels of performance of some of the Haggis players aren't looking at the bigger picture.
And they've also added Mr. Mourinho to their management team this year. What do you think he's brought to the league?
Entertainment as much as anything. Again, clearly knows what's going on. And what I like is when people from outside of the managers and the chairman or co-chairman, they invest their time to bolster the reputation, and I have a respect and an admiration for that.
Okay, next we've got Sloths.
Like myself, it's nice to see a manager who has been down there suddenly seeing themselves much higher. I think it's also nice, to be fair, to see Mr. Palmer back in the mix, if not as the face of a team. Clearly, he's having an effect on what Rob's doing. But 2 of the great characters of Super League history are suddenly doing the job, and whether they'll stay there or not, I'll take some time to think about ahead of my top 6 prediction. But yeah, I think they're doing a good job so far. When you look at players like Collins and the ratings they're getting, I think the only thing you can say is congratulations.
And then now we drop below the top 6 line. We've come to much fancied Gazelles, currently outside the playoffs.
Yeah, again, it's a narrative I've led, so I'm trying to be careful with what I say. They were pre-season favourites for a reason. I don't necessarily think the squad is as good as people said. I think the starting 11 is, but maybe not what's behind it. But again, it's one of those where you're mixing a very good squad with a very good manager, and you're expecting very big things, without question.
So you say that you don't think the squad is as good, but their 11 is. So you've got a well-respected manager, a fantastic starting 11 that have been able to field their best 11 most of the season. So are they underperforming?
It's difficult to say with how tight the league is, because anyone, I know it's a cliche, but anyone can beat anyone. I think the only way we can truly decide if they're underperforming is if you ask again in what are we on, game week 12? Ask me again in 4 or 5 game weeks time. You know, where we're well into sort of 3/4 territory. The league, I imagine, will have a bit more of a break then in terms of the point difference between, you know, it's negligible really between 1st and 10th at the moment. So if we revisit that question in, say, 4 games time, something like that, and if they're still below the dotted line, even by a couple of points, then the answer is without question yes.
And next up, we've got a team who are banging form. It is the naive Mr. Collins at Churchtown.
It's another one of those narratives that I think is unwarranted. I don't believe he is naive. I think people look at the tactics and have just come up with a stereotype. I don't believe the squad is as good as he's had in the past, but they are top of the form league at the moment. They are just outside the top 6. And Kieran is one of those people who, regardless of the quality of the squad he's got, I fully believe he will make a success of it. Are they title favourites? No. But for me, when it comes to making my predictions, I fully expect to say Churchtown will be in there.
Okay, and then next up, we've got the very streaky Hulls, who either win 3 or 4 on the bounce or lose 3 or 4 on the bounce.
I adore Jens and what he's brought to the Super League. It is that consistency thing, and I can't remember which manager it was said it in their interview, but I think the difference maker for them will be turning 1 or 2 of those defeats into draws, and it just, although it's not a winning run, it becomes an unbeaten run. And if you're still picking up a point here, a point there, and then backing that up with a win, and suddenly, instead of getting 3 points from 6, you're getting 4 points from 6, you will soon start to manoeuvre up the league.
Absolutely. And you're also stopping teams gaining an advantage on you.
That's the main thing at this point. When we've never seen a league this tight at this point. So if you can stop advantages being gained and just build a little bit of momentum, I like that. In a similar way to myself, he had a plan. It didn't work. He was happy to say, look, it's not working. He's changed it. He's getting results. He's making what aren't necessarily fashionable transfers in some guises, but he's doing the business that's right for him at this moment. And I've got a lot of time and respect for that.
Okay. In 10th, we've got Hodges Leadersford Old Boys,
who are positionally underperforming. Similar, I put them in a similar bracket to Gazelles. I'm not going to say them as a club are underperforming because the league is so tight. But if they're in a similar position in, say, 3 or 4 games' time, questions I think will be asked, because the squad is perfectly good. The manager has got, you know, top 6 experience. There's no excuses for me really for them not to be at least in challenging for them. You know, they should be aiming higher, but it seems to be one of those seasons where anything can and will happen.
Certainly could. So next we've got Dragons and the newly assembled management trio.
They are a team who literally epitomise the word inconsistency. I've got a lot of time for Jamie, and I'm starting to get to know the other guys a bit better, obviously, at the moment. Jamie's one of those people who I hope does well, but obviously not at the expense of myself. He's spent a lot of time being average, and I'd just like him to feel what it's like to not be average. But Dragons themselves, it's a funny thing because they've got some players who you think could perform a lot better, but then you never really look at them and think, oh, do you know what, I'm really scared. Even when we came up against them, I was excited because my team were in form. Me and Jamie historically have had some absolute humdingers. And again, when we met, I can't remember, was it 4-3 or 5-4, something ridiculous like that? It was a great game for the neutral, and they're always enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, they certainly are enjoyable to watch. They always are involved in goals, I would say. So next up, we've got the Tinkerman, Steve at Dudley Hill, who never seems to play the same 11 players or same formation. Is that been his downfall?
I've got a lot of time for Steve. Obviously, was a Super League fan before coming into it. I feel unquestionably sorry for the position they find themselves in. I don't necessarily think tinkering is the root cause of the problem, but it'll definitely be a contributing factor. I know he said himself he's going to look to stop it to a degree. But again, having seen him in rewriting history and seen some of the other stuff he's done with his streams now and stuff he'd done beforehand, I know what he is capable of. So I wouldn't necessarily write him off a challenge, but he might be more of a season 2, season 3 kind of team.
Okay, and then second to bottom currently is the ever confident of making the playoffs, Astra Athletic.
I'll try and be quick but respectful because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Everyone knows the admiration I have for Alf. I don't think his squad is as good as he's had in the past. He doesn't have those star names in key positions. I think he builds himself up for failure with some of the things that he posts with regards to his home saves. Although, as long as he's doing it for the right reasons and not taking too much from the result, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to do that, as I alluded to at the start. But yeah, I do worry this is going to be a very shortcoming season for them.
Okay, let's try and quickly squeeze everything else in then. So a quick word on Northern Burn, who got the first win last week.
Delighted for Ian, again, one of the stars of the Super League. I've gone on record as saying, again, he's got a squad that is far better than what he's getting from them. I don't want to pile the pressure on, but I think questions will be asked if they can't get out of this position soon, because this is exactly what happened with his good team he had at BTEC as well. But like Jamie, he's a manager I hope can sample what it's like to be more than average very soon.
Okay. So then if you can fire us a quick top 6 prediction as we stand now, and then I've got a quick fire round that will take about 30 seconds.
Okay, my top 6 prediction will be Fulchester, Gazelles, Bostock, me, Churchtown, and Leddersford.
A few teams you fancy to drop out then. Interesting. Okay, so Fifey, quick fire round.
We'll go till it cuts out with your quick fire round.
Okay, so quick fire round, no thinking, quick, instinctive answer, one word answer. Who finishes bottom?
Astor.
Who finishes top after 26 games?
Fulchester.
Overall champions?
Me.
Top scorer?
Mpenza.
Top